Okay, so in this video we want to look at sketching quadratics. So let's look at this first example. Sketch y equals x squared minus 5x plus 6. So the first thing we need to worry about is the y-intercept. So that's just given by setting x to 0, in which case we see that we get y equals 6. The second thing we need to do is find the x-intercepts. And so if we factorize this, what we'll see is that we get, let's write it over here. We'll see that we get x minus 3 and x minus 2. So in particular, the x-intercepts are x equals 2 or x equals 3. And the last thing we need to find is the turning point. And to do this, we'll complete the square. So if we complete the square, what we'll find is we get x minus 5 over 2 squared plus 6 minus 5 over 2 squared. In this case, we get x minus 5 over 2 squared plus 6 minus 25 over 4. What we'll do is we'll write this as x minus 5 over 2 squared plus 24 over 4 minus 25 over 4. And so what we end up with is x minus 5 over 2 squared minus 1 over 4. In particular, we see the turning point occurs at 5 on 2, comma, minus 1 on 4. So we'll have 5 on 2, comma, minus 1 on 4. Okay, so let's put all this onto a graph. So remember the y-intercept is a 6. We have, so that's this. We have x-intercepts at 2 and 3. So we'll have maybe 2 and 3. And then we have a turning point in the midpoint of these two intercepts, but at about minus 1 on 4. So this has a y value of minus 1 on 4 and an x value of 5 on 2. So now we just need to connect these points, and that's the graph of this parabola, of this quadratic. Okay, let's do the same thing again. So we find the y-intercept in this case, which is x squared plus 6x minus 7. We'll end up with negative 7. We want to find the x-intercepts. To do that, we can use the quadratic formula. So remember, the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So here we get negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 is minus 7. All of that divided by 2 times 1. So what we have here is negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 plus 28, all divided by 2. So we get negative 6 plus or minus the square root of, this ends up being 64 over 2. And that means we have negative 6 plus or minus 8 over 2, which means that we get negative 6 plus 8, which is 2, or, so x equals 2 over 2, or x equals negative 6 minus 8, which is minus 14 over 2. So we get x equals 1, or x equals minus 7. So let's put that up here. X equals 1 or minus 7. Okay, and finally we need the turning point. So to calculate that, we'll complete the square. What I'll end up with is x plus 3 squared minus 7, and we subtract 3 squared, so we get x plus 3 squared minus 7 minus 9, so we get x plus 3 squared minus 16, and so the turning point occurs at minus 3 minus 16. Okay, so let's graph that. So we have a y-intercept at minus 7, put about here. We have x-intercepts at 1 and minus 7, so 1 and minus 7. And the turning point is at minus 3 and minus 16, so it's probably about here. So minus 3 minus 16, and then we just connect the points. And that's it. So we see the importance of the quadratic formula, we see the importance of completing the square, and that's it. It's not a very difficult task, we just need to practice. So of course you can find the practice problems in the tute notes, which are available in the video description, as well as the fully worked solutions and answers in the cheat notes, also available in the video description. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button, and if you want to see more of this content, I would appreciate it if you subscribed. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next video.